Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to install DOS with Windows 3.11. We're going to have sound drivers and a CD-ROM driver, and I'm going to show you how to do networking, but it currently does not work with Qemu. So we're going to be doing this on Debian SID. This process will be the same on Debian and Ubuntu, and once you get the main packages, it'll be the same on other distributions as well. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get your packages, which we already have. So it's going to be Qemu-KVM. It's going to be bridge details and Virt-Manager. So you're going to get those. Oh, well, I typoed. And as you can see, we already have them. And 32 not upgraded. I need to do that. But so after you do that, you'll have all your programs set up and ready to go. You also want to make sure that your CPU supports virtualization. The 4790 does. You can check online with Intel, it's called VTD. You also want to make sure you have those options in your BIOS as well. You can consult your motherboard's user manual for those options. Also, another command is gen ISO image. So you want to get this program, just apt-get install gen ISO image. And what this does is you can take a directory like this 311 pack. This is where all our drivers are. We want to put them into basically a CD-ROM so that we can load them in the virtual machine. And what we're going to do is you just do gen ISO image /o, and then where you want your output file to be. In this case, it's going to be on the desktop called 311 pack. And then what directory is going to be on there. So after we run this command, you can see that it created this ISO image with all of our stuff in it. And we'll go ahead and move that over to our Windows 3.11 directory, which we're going to be working out of today. So we have our driver pack, we have our CD-ROM driver floppy, and our 3 MS-DOS floppies, along with our Windows for Workgroup 311 CD ISO. And we're going to go over some of these drivers. So AMD PCNet is a network driver that VMware uses, and also can be used in Qemu, but you have to, in Virt-Manager, you have to edit the XML file to use it, and it also throws errors, so we're not going to be using it. Disk 1 is some games. It's Best of Windows Entertainment Pack. We will be installing that. DOS idle is to let DOS idle your CPU, because DOS will use 100%. We won't be installing that for this tutorial, but I'll give it to you in case you want to. E1000 is a driver for the E1000 network card used in a Virt-Manager. We won't be using this because it also throws errors. I've tried everything to get networking to work. Gus is a different sound card that's supposed to be better than SoundBlaster. I also could not get this one to work. You also can't select Gus as an option in Virt-Manager, even by editing the XML file. MS Client is a networking client for DOS. So if you installed your network card in DOS, you would use this to actually connect to the internet. RTL 8139 is what we're going to be using. We're going to be using the Windows one, not the DOS one. This one won't throw errors, but I'll show you it's still not going to work. But at least it can see the device, I guess. SoundBlaster 16 we will be using. This is for our sound card. SVGA is a video driver for getting better resolutions. It's for VMware. It does not work in Qemu, but it's there if you want to do VMware. And what you would do is you would copy these to a directory, and then you would want to run, while in the directory, you would type in the command in DOS, VGA patch space P, and then it will patch one of these files, the svga 256.drv, and then you could install this as a video driver. TCP is our networking protocol that we will be installing. The Y2K update is for the dates on files. We're not going to be installing it in this tutorial, but I'm going to let you guys have it in case you want to. WQG-HLT is just like DOS idle, but for Windows. And of course, we have Internet Explorer here that we also won't be using. And I'm going to have a link to all these files for you guys to use or download and use for yourself. But we will go ahead and get started. So we're going to open up our virtual machine manager and we create a new one. Local install media 86 by 64 for the architecture. Use ISO image. This part doesn't actually matter. I'm actually going to delete this. Oh, it's not there. Okay. I deleted it earlier. So this doesn't actually matter. You can pick anything. This doesn't matter either. And we want to do 64 megabytes of RAM, which is a bit overkill for this. And we want to select or create our own custom storage, which we're not going to name generic. We're going to name it Windows 3.11. We're going to make it 2 gigs. We're going to use QCOW2. You can use any of these if you want. VMDK for compatibility with VMware, or you can use RAW. QCOW2 is my favorite because it allows for sparse hard drives. So you could have like, you could have a 20 gig file size, but it's not going to take up 20 gigs on your hard drive if you're only using 5 in the virtual machine. It also has like snapshots and such. It's not super important, but that's what I'm going to use. Okay, so we're going to click forward. We're going to name our virtual machine Windows 3.11. Customize configuration for install, and here you can see our bridge, which I can show you guys more about bridges. So you'll go to your network file, or your interface file rather. In here you would do, so you should have something like this. I'll probably say DHCP. You'll change this to manual. Ignore this stuff. This is for a static IP address. If I ever want to switch quickly, I can take out these comments. And then you'll set up your bridge down here. So it's going to look almost exactly like this, but it's going to be VM bro. And then I've got mine set to DHCP. You can use manual instead of static IP if you'd like. The main thing is that you have these in here. So this is going to tell it to bridge with Ethernet 0. And then you would run if down eth0 or whatever your interface name is. And then your bridge, if up your bridge, which is, this is going to take down your network interface and then bring up your bridge. Mine's already correctly configured, so there's no need for me to run that command. But that's how you set up a bridge. And then you want to make sure customize configuration before install is checked. So we can go in here and set our CPU to 486. Make sure everything looks good. We want to, for a sound card, pick SoundBlaster, apply, and we also want to add the PC speaker as another sound card. And then we want to add a floppy disk drive. And we're going to choose disk 1 for DOS so that we can install it. And we'll go begin install. It's going to fail. That's fine though. We'll just turn it off, start it back up. Oh, well, that's not true. Got to change our boot options here to the floppy. So now we can start it back up. There we go. So here to set up MS-DOS now, you just want to hit enter. And then configure unallocated disk space, hit enter as recommended. It'll tell us that it has a restart and it'll start formatting. Another thing I like to do is turn scale display on for this. So we can kind of get a bigger picture. And then we want to put it in DOS. And now this is going to tell us to put in the other floppy disk. So we'll come over here, disconnect. we'll go choose our second floppy disk and click yes. Now this is a little buggy sometimes. It doesn't seem to be doing it here. Maybe it'll do it on disk 3. I didn't have issues with this on my laptop, but on my desktop I have experienced issues. But today we're not. So sometimes it'll like hang up right there. If you experience these issues, you can click pause or go over here, click around in different menus like this, and then click back, and eventually it should start working. Or you can take the floppy, you can disconnect the floppy drive and connect it back. So we'll restart. It'll say non-system disk. So we'll just turn it off. We're going to go over here to our floppy, disconnect this. We want to put in our CD-ROM. Yes. And then we want to set our boot options. Okay, now we're booting from hard disk. We're going to open up some nodes here. These notes are for our setting up our CD driver, and I'm going to include these for you guys in the zip file. Okay, so once we're in here, we can check out our CD-ROM driver is in our floppy, so we want to copy cd1.sys to c/DOS. One file copied. Alright. So now we can check out, we can cd over to DOS, do a directory, and we can see that our cd1.sys is there. cd ... to go back. Now we want to edit our config.sys. And what we're going to put in here is device high equals c/DOS/cd1.sys/d MSCD001. And then we can do last drive equals z. And then we'll save that. Then we can edit our autoexec.bat. What we're going to put in here is the LHC DOS mscdex.exe/d MSCD001. Alright. Now we have everything set up for our CD drivers. Another thing I want to show you guys, we're going to turn off here, that I forgot to show you earlier. When you're setting it up, like, so we want to, if you don't have your pool set up, what you're going to do is just click add pool. You can make a name for it, use file system directory, forward, and then you will pick, like for example, desktop, we're going to be working at 311. So you just click open and it will make your pool right there, which mine is already set up right here. So we're going to go ahead and load up in our first drive the Windows disk. Okay. We're going to add another one for our drivers. And now what we want to do is start this back up. We can close out of this now that we have our CD driver set up. And using the CD-ROM driver makes things a lot slower, but we have access to CD-ROM, which is a lot better than floppies, because we can have all our drivers on one thing. You know, we can install Windows all off one disk instead of 7 or I think it's 8 floppies. It just streamlines things a little bit. So we can go over to D, do a directory to make sure we're in the right place. I believe this is our Windows disk. And as I said, it does take a while. Alright, here we go. So once we're in here, we want to do setup. And it's going to check our hard disk to make sure we don't have a previous version of Windows. If we did, it would want us to upgrade it or put Windows in a different directory. But we don't have one installed, so we don't have to worry about that. And now we want to set up Windows for workgroups. Now press enter. We want to do express setup, press enter. I'm going to copy some files over. And we just wait on it. It does take a little bit. Alright, we're going to put in our name. If you have a product number, you can put that in here. We don't, so we're just going to continue. Continue. And it's going to load some files. Now we don't have a printer, so we'll just click install with no printer attached. And I'm going to show you how to set up the networking. It's not going to work. Maybe in a later version of Qemu it does, but for now it does not. So we're going to do install Windows Network. Click OK. Go to Advanced, Drivers, Add Adapter, Unlisted. Click OK. We're going to browse over to our driver disk. We're going to go to RTL and choose the Windows one. And then there's our fast Ethernet adapter. Now we want to add a protocol, which we're going to go to our drivers again. Go to the root. We're going to go down to TCP. This is what you would use to connect to a modern network. Click OK. It's going to install some programs. Set that as default. And then you can use DHCP. It's supposed to work just fine. I've got it to work in the past, but for some reason, current versions, it does not work. So this is how my other virtual machines are set up, using the same bridge, and they work fine. So it's definitely not an issue with the networking on my desktop. It's an issue with Qemu, I believe, because I've used these same drivers in the past. But even though it's not going to work, I'm going to show you how to set it up anyways. We'll set up a computer name. Okay, and then for this, we want to use MS-DOS editor. This we want to pick none of the above, and this we want to pick FTP ping. Skip tutorial. If you want the tutorial, you feel free to click on that. We're going to restart the computer. And we're not going to go into Windows just yet. First, we're going to install our sound card. As soon as we get dropped to a prompt. And this being this slow is 100% due to these CD-ROM drivers. So if you don't need the CD-ROM drivers, you can feel free to disable this. So we want to go to our E drive, do a directory, make sure we're in the right one. I do believe we are. It does take a long time. Alright, so now that we're in here, we're going to CD into our SoundBlaster, and we want to do setup. Setup for Windows workgroups. Wait a minute. Yeah, we want to do install, not setup. And then you can see that it wants to make a audio card path and a Microsoft Windows path, which is correct. So we will hit enter. And the defaults will work fine, so just press enter here too. And then press enter here as well. It's just showing you the changes that it's going to make to your files. And then it will pop up and ask you to make a backup, skip, or proceed. You can make a backup if you'd really like to, but we're just going to go ahead and click proceed. And then we will hit F10 to reboot. And then you'll see that our sound card drivers are loading. And I'll show you how to test to make sure that they work. You'll know that it's working as soon as we boot Windows. It will make a noise. Also, another thing about the SoundBlaster is MIDIs will not work through Qemu because you need a audio card called AdLib, and Virt-Manager does not allow you to use that either, so there's definitely some drawbacks to using this. Also, I wouldn't use this for games. The performance is not going to be good. You're better off using DOSBox. As you can see, our sound card is working. And this graphical bug I've noticed is due to installing the network driver. So if you don't have any use for network and you don't want this graphical bug here, you can just turn it off or don't install it. So we don't have a password and we're not going to set one up. Alright, so now we're in. So we can go in here and we can see that we have that set up, but it's not going to work. But it's good enough to me that it actually shows the stuff there. But now we will go over to our file manager, to go to our E drive, and we're going to install the Windows Entertainment Pack for our lovely games as soon as it gets done loading. Definitely a slow system, and you can't do a whole lot from inside here, so these are just basic little games, and I'll show you a little bit of them. So of course we've Rodent's Revenge is what I used to play a whole lot. At F2 to start a new game. And then the goal is to trap these little cats. Then they turn into cheese. And then you get more little cats. And the goal is to just trap them. And that is that entire game. You just do that over and over. It gets harder. And of course, ski free. Everyone remembers this game. And here's one that's supposed to have sound. I'll show you the MIDIs. So we turn on the background music, the sound effects, but the MIDIs aren't working for reasons I stated before. But as you can see, the sound effects do work. Whoa. Spazzing out here. Okay, well my mouse has gone absolutely crazy inside here. So we can just do a force reset real quick. It is buggy. It's not perfect. But now you have a fully working system of DOS and Windows 3.11 to use for nostalgia or whatever it is you want to use it for. We'll just wait for it to drop us to a prompt and we'll get back in there. And that happens occasionally too, where you have to, it'll fail upon loading Windows. You just do a quick reset. It's not a very quick reset, but you know, it should start the next time. But we'll see. So like I said, VMware or something like VirtualBox may be actually better for this kind of application. But you're obviously here because you wanted to learn how to do it in Qemu with Virt-Manager. Just click on here, go back into Windows. And we're back. So there's not really a whole lot that you can do inside of here. You have your regular games like Solitaire and Minesweeper. You have the README, you can test sounds, stuff like that. But not really a whole lot you can do in here. Click around and see what we got. We got the paintbrush. You can use the original paint. No. We have our notepad. So yeah, thanks for watching my tutorial for MS-DOS and Windows 3.11. If you have any improvements or you figured out some things like how to get MIDIs to work, or if you played around and got network working, let me know how you did it and I will gladly make an updated video. But for most of you, this will work just fine to get it installed and running. Go ahead and if you liked it, subscribe and drop a like. And let me know anything else you'd like to see a tutorial for, and if I don't know how to do it, I will definitely figure it out, and then we'll go from there. And all the files that I've used today, I'll put them in a zip file and have a link in the description. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy Windows 3.11.